Hello and welcome back to another installment of Modern Wealth Management. I'm your host, Ryan Ruff. We thank you so much for joining us on today's live stream. You know, if you're joining us on the live stream or you're listening to this episode on a platform after the fact, it's all the same. We're happy to have you with us here today. Darrick Hutchinson standing by. He'll be joining me momentarily. Ray Kramer taking the morning off from the show, but we'll have him, I'm sure, for next episode. Either way, if you caught us for our last episode, we had a great conversation surrounding really the family dynamic, specifically preparing heirs for receiving their inheritance. You know, it's a concept that we're all pretty familiar with, but what we don't really understand is those internal and external conflicts that come along with it. So Ray, Darrick, and I, we unpacked a lot of those conflicts, offered some suggestions on how to mitigate some potential circumstances that could arise and ultimately jeopardize the family wealth as a whole. So if this is a topic that pertains to you, maybe somebody you know, I'd highly recommend sharing that content, going back, having them listen, you watch that last episode. Either way, some great information in that episode for you. But today, a different topic. Today's topic, 3 reasons why life insurance should be a key part of your wealth plan. Now, I know life insurance isn't the hottest of topics, but Darrick feels very strongly about it. He believes that there is a true level of importance that as to why this should ultimately be incorporated within your wealth plan. So let's go ahead and bring Darrick on to join us today and dive into this conversation. Darrick, how you doing this morning? Good to see you.
Oh, great, Ryan. Thank you very much. I'm thrilled to be here. It's a beautiful day in Carmel, Indiana.
All righty. Awesome. Well, hey, we've got a good conversation lined up for our audience today. We're talking life insurance on the show today, which is obviously a topic, you know, it doesn't truly get people excited these days like stocks or investments would necessarily.
It's actually harder to find. It's a very easy conversation to find yourself alone at a party if you bring it up. So
very true. Very true. So, hey, why not talk about it on the show then today? But here's the thing, though. It is actually one of the more flexible, versatile tools that somebody can incorporate into their overall wealth plan. And you are a firm believer, as you know, in that the fact it should, life insurance, that is, be a key part of someone's wealth plan. Let's start here today. Why do you feel that way exactly?
Well, there's a number of different ways that I feel so strongly about life insurance and its importance. But it really, to find its importance, we really got to start with a bigger issue, and that is an individual or a family's overall wealth planning, because life insurance doesn't exist in a vacuum. It is just simply a component of somebody's broader plan. So, wealth planning, it's really meant to help address multiple financial concerns, and life insurance is often is a major component of wealth planning efforts done by affluent people and their advisors. It's certainly not the only solution that you need, but it can be one that plays a very important role in helping you achieve your overall goals.
So let's talk about those overall goals, Darrick, and just
Okay.
I'd like to even take a step back really and just kind of discuss the overall importance of wealth planning and developing really that big picture wealth plan for yourself. Why is this something that people should be considering and not just kind of going about their finances day to day, month to month kind of thing?
Well, for the most part, that is what we do. It's day to day, month to month.
Sure.
And periodically, I do think it's important that we take a step back. That's the role that I play in developing a wealth plan, is creating that environment where a family gets a chance to step back from that day to day and say, hey, what are we aimed at here? What is it we're trying to achieve? And, what we're always trying to do is to take a look and say, hey, where are we at today? And where is it that we really, really, really want to go? And aligning a long-term plan that becomes kind of a guide to help us make those day-to-day decisions.
Sure. And Darrick, you and I have chatted with Ray at length about the importance of the human element within your conversations with clients. So it really does sound like then within wealth planning, the focus should be on the person, not necessarily the product. Am I right in saying that?
Absolutely 100% correct, Ryan. The focus must be on the family or the individual. I think one of the reasons that life insurance gets such a bad name or a bad rap is that it's sold by life insurance agents. And if I'm a life insurance agent and I'm coming to see you, guess what I'm going to try and sell you? Life insurance.
Of course.
Okay. The role that I play in wealth planning is that I have no agenda when I come to, when we sit down and start talking. If I'm interested in who my clients are as people, what it is that they're trying to achieve. And only then do we sit down at the table together, look at the multitude of different opportunities that exist out there, including life insurance, and say, hey, out of everything that exists in the marketplace today, what is needed and what can most efficiently help us hit our goals?
Sure. And so are there any signs then necessarily that an individual can identify within themselves that tell them that, hey, wealth planning is in fact an action step that they should consider taking at that moment?
Yeah, I mean, I think that most people, once they've hit some kind of, some kind of financial status, should be, in the financial status is that you're meeting those everyday goals or everyday needs. At that point, you can start taking a look at doing some wealth planning and thinking about the future. It's really, really difficult, Ryan, for people who are living day to day and trying to make ends meet to think about their future.
Right.
Almost impossible.
Right.
But for those of us that have our day-to-day needs covered, then, doing some long-term wealth planning makes a lot of sense. I can think of three instances that really, might fall in. The first one is that you're really, really concerned about the people that you love. I certainly fall into that category. The first time that I ever did really thoughtful wealth planning was when I found out my wife was pregnant. Okay. That was the first time that I thought about what life might look like for her and my unborn baby if I wasn't around.
Sure.
The second thing is that we have more people now living into their 90s and even up and past age 100. So the retirement plans and the wealth plans that we're building, quite frankly, need to last a lot longer than they used to. And if you have any concerns about outliving your money, guess what? You should be doing a wealth plan. And then the third thing, and this is probably, this is one of the areas I really specialize, it is in helping business owners think through their situation and whether or not they want to ensure that their business thrives even if something were to happen to either them or one of their key employees. So it's not just on a personal basis, but there's also some business planning that's involved in this wealth plan.
Sure. A lot to consider, honestly, when it comes to this. So I'd like to kind of shift gears back towards life insurance at this point in time. Walk me through the key components that life insurance plays within wealth planning overall.
Well, life insurance can be very, very versatile. And sometimes it is compared to a Swiss Army knife. But, like that, like a Swiss Army knife, life insurance, it can serve multiple purposes and get multiple jobs done. And I'm not saying life insurance is some sort of a magic bullet for all your financial related matters.
Sure.
Just as a Swiss Army knife isn't the ideal tool for all jobs. Life insurance is merely a potentially very formidable tool to use as part of a wealth planning. One with enough versatility to serve a powerful role.
Well, let's talk about that versatility. That we batted lead off using that word at the beginning of the show. So let's unpack that. Why is it such a versatile element within wealth planning as a whole?
Well, when I think about life insurance, there's three things that life insurance can do that set it aside from other tools that I have. The first one is liquidity. And anybody that's ever settled an estate where life insurance was involved understands the liquidity nature of life insurance. Upon death, the life insurance policy automatically converts to cash. When my parents passed away, the life insurance proceeds was the very first check that I received as I was handling their estates. So the first one is liquidity, and that is that it turns up as cash very, very, very fast. The second thing that makes it so unique is leverage, and the relationship between the premium dollars that we pay and the potential benefit, the death benefit of that. You get a lot of leverage. I personally own several $1 million of life insurance because I have some people that I really, really love and want to take care of, even if I'm not here. But, the interesting thing is that the amount of premium that I pay every single year is minuscule compared to the benefit that they would receive if I were to pass away and they needed that money. So
Sure.
It allows for me to really compound and it provides a lot of leverage on those dollars. The third thing is certainty. There's a lot of things that are very uncertain right now, politically, economically, socially. There's a lot of stuff going on, Ryan. The one thing I can tell you that's absolutely certain is I don't know any person who has ever not been paid out on a life insurance benefit if they were owed the money. Okay, life insurance pays out, and so if it's set up appropriately and the premiums are paid the way that it should be, you will absolutely 100% collect that death benefit upon death.
And that, you want to talk about just peace of mind with that certainty. Oh my gosh, God forbid something is to happen. Life insurance, is that safety net, that safety blanket, however you want to phrase it. And that's just one of the three, benefits that you had mentioned to us. So given what really sounds like versatility, flexibility, however you want to classify it, what are some of the goals that this can ultimately help somebody achieve, in utilizing either the life insurance policy or the funds that, that might be extracted from the policy, when it's enacted?
Yeah. So when I think about life insurance, oftentimes it's the most cost-effective way to provide for three different outcomes. And the first one is what I mentioned, and that's providing for your loved ones in the event of your, I like to say premature death, but death as a whole. Mm-hmm. So if you really, really want to make sure that the people that you love the most are well taken care of when you die, life insurance is the best tool. It can't be spent before, the death benefit can't be spent before you die, mm-hmm. and it will absolutely be there when you do die, as long as it's set up appropriately. The second thing is to provide cash to address personal needs or wants while you're still living, and we can talk more about that. But that's another tool that life insurance or another thing that life insurance can provide. The third thing is providing money that you require to address, critical business concerns that might come up because of a premature death. So, again, just to highlight those, it's to care for your loved ones while you are or after you die, mm-hmm. to pay for some things while you're still alive, and to take care of the business even if you die too early.
Okay, so I like that this is kind of broken down in three ways to benefit somebody, because I think the general consensus is, you buy a life insurance policy, someone dies, you take out the policy, and then there's a beneficiary from that policy. So it's interesting to hear some other ways that this could be utilized. So I'd love to kind of unpack these three, Darrick. So let's talk about, I guess, the first one really to start, and then let's roll through each one of these because I'm very curious about that second one in ways that you could address current personal needs with a life insurance policy.
Mm. So you want to address the first one first?
Yeah, most importantly, and then we'll roll through them.
Yeah, so I mean, first and foremost, life insurance is meant to provide money when it's most needed at somebody's death.
Sure.
You may not know this about me, Ryan, but I grew up the son of a life insurance agent. 48 years with Prudential, my dad had Prudential Life Insurance.
Wow.
And there was never a year that went by when I was a little kid that at some point in the middle of the night, there wouldn't be a 3 a.m. telephone call. And, back in the early 80s,
right.
Yeah, when the telephone rang, it rang in the house and everybody heard it.
Sure.
And so sure enough, 3 a.m. the phone would ring. I'd come downstairs to see what was going on. And I will tell you that more often than not, it was a very concerned father-in-law that wanted to know whether or not his son-in-law had purchased the life insurance that my dad had suggested. And more times than not, my dad was able to assure him that, hey, I'm sorry that, there's something's going on, but I want you to know that, that the family's well taken care of because he did go ahead and implement that life insurance plan that I showed him. And it doesn't erase that somebody had either passed away or was near passing away, but it certainly gave a lot of confidence to that family, knowing that financially they were going to be okay.
Right.
The first time I ever saw my dad cry is when he was unable to answer that question in the positive. And he had to tell a father-in-law that unfortunately his son-in-law had decided not to accept that life insurance. He thought the premium was too high or decided that he didn't need it or whatever. And I'll never forget how my dad held himself responsible for that. But I think that the point of me bringing that out is that first and foremost, when I think about life insurance, I think about taking care of the people that we love.
Sure. And that's first and foremost, the most important part of it. I mean, it's that safety blanket at the end of the day. So Darrick, shifting to the second point, you mentioned that it can be life insurance, that is, can be used to provide you with cash to help a future need. To the layman, this might be new information. So talk to us a little bit about this.
Yeah. So there's different forms of life insurance. There's all kinds of it out there. Life insurance has a unique tax structure in the fact that some life insurance builds up tax deferred and potentially tax-free cash balances inside the policy. And so the way that works is that, you pay a premium or the client pays a premium, a percentage of that money goes to pay for the death benefit, but a percentage of that money goes into the cash reserves of that policy and begins accumulating cash value. It's credited with some type of internal interest rate and could potentially do very, very, very well for people as a cash accumulation vehicle while they're still alive. Specifically for those individuals that are in higher tax brackets, that tax deferred and potentially tax-free growth. It's tax-free if you set it up correctly. That tax-free growth can be extremely powerful and is a tool that is used by the wealthiest families in this country.
Wow. And lastly, the third mention you mentioned, ultimately just having some, life insurance benefits with regard to business owners specifically. So let's dive into
Yeah, I
this.
mean, so when it comes to business owners, I can think of so many different reasons that we need it. I'm a business owner, and Ray is my business partner. Um, Ray and I've made a decision to be in business together, but that decision did not extend to our spouses. And so Ray and I have an agreement in place that says, hey, if one of us passes away, then the other one gets to buy the business from our spouse. And so that is funded through life insurance. So you think about any kind of business situation, and you think about, hey, what if somebody that's really, really important to that business passes away? Gosh, that can be detrimental and not only affect the families, but then you're talking about affecting all the other employees as well. So
Right.
for business owners who are as concerned about the longevity of their business as I am, life insurance becomes a very important component in maintaining our legacy.
Sure, sure. I love that. The agreement is big. Obviously, having that, again, once more, a safety net, a safety blanket, should something happen. And I get that our conversation today, Darrick, is really centered around kind of negativity. If something was to happen, we've got this to
Sure.
fall back on. But any final thoughts for our audience as we bring our conversation to a head, on just maybe we shouldn't look at life insurance with a kind of a negative outlook. There are actually some real positive benefits to it. Any final thoughts on the topic as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, listen, maybe it's because I grew up the son of a life insurance agent, but I don't
Mm-hmm.
have any negative connotations to it whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
I also am not as in love with it as my father was,
Mm-hmm.
okay? I view it as an extremely important tool for people who are concerned about other people, okay? The people that we love. I'm going to say it again. When I found out that Shannon, my wife, was pregnant, uh, additional life insurance was the first purchase that I made,
Mm-hmm.
and it had nothing to do with me. It had nothing to do with growing cash value. It had nothing to do with wealth accumulation. It had everything to do with love. Everything to do with the love that I have for my wife, and at that time, that unborn baby.
Mm-hmm.
As we've had, as we've now had a second child, I can tell you that my life insurance has increased. There's been additional policies that have been purchased because my love has only grown,
Mm-hmm.
and the amount of money that I know that they're going to need if something were to happen to me,
Mm-hmm.
then it's it's a lot of money that they're that they would need, and I want them to be taken care of. I used to ask clients, and I really should ask them again. In the event of your premature death, what do you want to have happen to your family? And then once they would tell me, then the second question has to be, how confident are you? How confident are you that those things will actually happen?
Hmm.
And if the answer isn't 100%, then I think we need to do some wealth planning.
Sure. Sure. And Darrick, we've sat down and we've talked at length about your discovery process, what that looks like coming into your front door and talking about. I mean, yes, the dollars and cents at the end of the day, but really that discovery process consists of a conversation about you, your personal goals, your life. And, ultimately, this is you. This is your well-being. All of the strings that do come with you, that are attached. This is all important stuff. So Darrick, ultimately, I really do appreciate our conversation today, and
Yeah.
thanks for joining me.
Yeah. Thank you, Ryan.
And look, hey, we want to thank you, our audience, our viewers, for joining us for another great live stream, another great conversation today. If you liked what you saw, you liked what you heard, feel free to, of course, like it, comment, subscribe, share this information with friends, family, others that you think might benefit from these conversations. A lot of great nuggets of information that Darrick and Ray are going to be sharing over each episode, and we'd hate for any of you guys to miss out on it. But anyway, for Darrick Hutchins, I'm Ryan Ruff saying so long. We thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Modern Wealth Management.